I'm Becca and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful clay roses that I've just made out from polymer clay. I did a sugar crafting course quite a long time ago now, and I wanted to see if I could transfer the process from obviously sugar paste, flour paste, that sort of thing, into clay, and I'm quite pleased with how they've turned out. And all I've used is just some simple I'm knocking them over now. Some simple teardrop cutters and some clay, and obviously this is a calyx cutter, which is for the bit that goes underneath. You just need a bit of wire and things, and I'll tell you all the supplies that you need. This one's still drying. I've just finished filming the ending of it, so that one still looks a little bit wet, but really easy to do, and let's get to it and I'll show. Okay, so to make my roses you just need a few standard wire working supplies. If you've done sugar crafting you'll probably have most of these anyway, but you'll just need some sturdy wire. This I got from the range and I think it was £1 a reel, and it's really thick. It's just so that your roses stand up. If you haven't got that, you could also use some of this garden wire that you can get in the flower arranging section of the range or somewhere like that, and you just cut this down, and this is already covered with the green tape stuff. You don't need to cover it then. The other thing is paper cup. That probably just seems really odd, but this is what we're going to stand our roses in to bake them in the oven. So you need a paper cup, not a plastic one, because obviously a plastic one's going to melt in the oven. Then you're going to need some teardrop cutters. Now I'm going to be working with the smallest one because I just want some small roses, but the bigger the rose you want, the bigger the teardrop you need. And then you need some calyx cutters, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is the bit that's underneath the rose, which I'll just, this bit here, I think that's what it's called anyway. I've had them quite a while so I can't remember. So these are the ones that I'm going to be using. These were a set of 3 off of AliExpress. I think they were less than £2, but I've had them quite a while so the price has probably changed. And then needle tool of some description, so that's just to help us curl our petals. So you'll need a round nose plier or a flat nose plier. It's just something to make a little curve in your wire at the end, and some wire snippers just to cut off the amount you need, and some bacon bond, and most importantly is some clay. So let me just move this out of the way and then I can show you what to do. Right, so I've already conditioned my clay, and this is just a nice ruby red. This is what I'm going to be using them for, because I'm making what I'm calling my forever cake for Christmas. I don't actually like eating Christmas cake, but I always like the look of them on the table when they're displayed. So I thought I'm going to make myself one that will last and last, and it's calorie free, which is all good. So this is just some Fimo, I think it was the Carmine Red, if I remember right which packet it had come out on. And I've just conditioned it and I've rolled it out as thin as I can get it, which is the thinnest setting on my pasta machine. If you've not got a pasta machine, just keep rolling it until you can get it as thin as you possibly can. This is how you make your flowers look lifelike. I did a sugar craft course years ago, and that's what we learnt in the class, is just to roll it out as thin as you possibly can get it for your petals. Now for your calyx you want them to just be a little bit thicker. I think this was a number 7 on my pasta machine when I worked it out. It's just a really dark green, so we're only going to need it for the base part of that. So I'm just going to take my clay, I'm going to take my smallest cutter, just a little bit more now that I've shown you everything. Now you want to get your bit of wire all ready, so I'm just going to take off, depending on what you're wanting to do with these is how much wire you cut off, but because I'm putting them on a cake I don't need it to be that long, so I'm just going to snip a bit off. All it needs to be is something firm, you know, a rigid wire, not one of the thinner ones that you can get. And you just want to take your round nose plier, just pinch at the end and just curl it round a little bit. And the reason that we're doing this is so that it hooks into the clay on the inside and doesn't come wiggling out. And then I've got little sort of, you can see there, a shepherd's crook, and then I'm just going to squeeze it in a little bit. I can get in with that one. I knew I got this one out for a reason. And then I'm just going to pinch it a little bit, because it's just got to have that little bit of a loop in. That's what we're going to stick into the flower so that it doesn't move. Now, when I'm doing this, I usually dip it into some water, but I forgot to bring some out with me before I started recording, which is silly me. But to start off your rose, you just, first of all, you want to just get a little bit of your red clay. So to just pop it into a thin teardrop sort of shape, if you can see. Sorry about the colour of my hands, they're from conditioning all the clay, they've got a bit green and red. So I've just got that little bit there. That's just so I've got something to hold my petals onto. Now to start the centre, you just need 2. Actually, I've got that one out. Because I haven't got my water, it's not pulling it up. There we go. And then pop those to the side so the camera's not focusing on that rather than what I'm trying to show you. Now with your cutters, if they leave any sort of ruffle around the edges, if it's not done a completely clean cut, just use your finger to smooth them out. Now at this stage you could actually use a leaf veiner, which you can get in the Sugarcraft section of any Sugarcraft suppliers, and that basically just puts a few more leaves into your flower, but I'm doing this one without, so you can see that you can still do it without it. And then if I remember right, what we do, let's try and find my, so I've not got a normal bolt tool, so this is another thing I'll show you, and just sort of just thin out the outside of the petals a little bit more, because they're what we're going to eventually curve to make it look more flower like. So you don't need all the fancy tools, and even if you've not got this, you can just squeeze it out a little bit more. Like this. Just pin up, and then I've got to untore it. Don't squeeze it quite that hard. Let's get another one. Let's try that again. Okay. Now, when we're doing the centre, we're basically going to just wrap these around each other. So I'm trying to do it so you can see it best. So if you try to just wrap it around, or lay, should I say, about half the way around each other. You just want to get this little bit in here. This is just to help us keep a shape for this start bit. We're going to put our wire in afterwards. So because this first petal is on the outside here, and just, oh, see how I've got it there. Because this one's on the outside, that one wants to be on the inside when they curl round. So I'm going to curl that side round and stick it to that tiny bit of clay that we've got in the middle, and then you take the opposite one and wrap it around, and that is the centre of our flower. Then if you just want to take a needle tool, you can curl them in a little bit more if you wish. You don't have to. I just like to give them a sense of movement in them, because flowers are never perfectly straight in nature. Okay, so that's our centre of our flower. Now for each round of petals, you're adding one on from what you did before. So because we've done 2, we'll go on to 3. Now when we're going on to these ones, we can just lay them straight on top of each other, so like we did on the other one before. I'll pop it up on my finger this far over, and then I can lay them out a bit better for you. them out. And it's not stuck to my fingers. And then we're just going to lay it over like we did before. Okay, so I've got that one laid over, and then we're just going to take our third one. Just make sure you've got it how you want, and then just lay it over that second one. Now, as you can see, each one so far is over the top and then underneath another one. So this is how we're going to curl it around the centre part. So if you just take your little centre piece, and if you look at our two outside ones, this one's already been underneath, so it needs to go on top, and this one's been on top, so it needs to go underneath. So if you wrap this one round first, and then that one over there, and each petal will overlap the one before. So you just want to take your needle tool, sorry if I went off the screen then, and I just like to tease them out and give them a little bit of shape. Use your fingers as well. It's just to find it easier with a needle tool. Now with flour paste, we do these all individual, but because of the clay, I played around with it and I've realised it's a lot easier if you do it this way. If you try to do each petal individually, you can sort of lose yourself on as to where your round started and what you've actually worked on. So I've got that. Not doing it too much out because I want to add some more on. Now that would be the perfect size for it if you just wanted to do a rose bud. So you could leave it at that size if you want, but I'm going to show you how to go a little bit bigger. So this one will obviously go 4. Nope, 3. And we're going to repeat that process. So if they're stuck to your tail, just take your blade and get them up. And do exactly the same thing. So about half of the way over. Now it's stuck to there. Okay, and then we'll put that over the end. Okay, so you've got your row of 4. So all you need to do now is sort of make sure that these 2 petals here are covered by one on the opposite side. So if you can just see there, you've got what I'd call a gap in between the petals here where we've just curled it down, and just pop it up against one of those leaves as though that petal is covering it all together. Okay, so I'm doing it against the second one. So as before, this side needs to go under now, and this side needs to go over. So each time you wrap around, you want to try and leave a little bit of a gap, but not too much because your petals have got to join at the end. So, and this is where your needle tool comes in really handy, because it'll help you pull those petals out. And each of the petals, I've found that whenever I've had roses, they curl over right at the edge, each of the petal, when they're actually still on the flower. So I just like to try and get that curl in. Oh, so sorry, I've just come off there. Right, so this is just how you curl your edges round. And like I said, depending on how big you're wanting your rose is to do how big you do it. So I'm going to do another row of those ones, and then we'll put the calyx on. So this one's obviously 5. So 1, 2, 3. And of course it doesn't get stuck. 4, 5. So I'll speed this bit up, and you can just watch me do the process once again. Okay, so I've got my row of petals, so I'm just going to do this side this time. So I've gone right in the middle, and then you can make them go higher up the more that you put on as you're going out of your rows. So as you can see, I'm leaving a little bit more of a gap than I have before. Just go it over. I'm hoping this is making sense. Now you might end up tearing a couple of leaves, don't worry about it, because you can always cover that up with your calyx, or just move it back with your needle tool. And then this is just the time that you want to take just to get it in the position that you want it to be in when it's baked. Okay. Now you can actually do wired petals as well. I don't need them that big. We tended to just do the wired petals for if we were doing like a really big flower display on a cake, but I'm just keeping it as this. That's the last one, and I'm going to leave it at that size. You can keep going, but I just want these nice little full looking roses. And then the next step is we're going to take our wire. So we need our little, the end with the curl on it that we made. And you just want to take some bacon bond, or any liquid clay that you've got really. Bacon bond's just intended for bonding things with clay, obviously. So I'm just putting some bacon bond on the end. And then we're just going to push this through the centre. Now this is what the little bit of clay in the centre was for, so that it grabs onto that little bit of clay. Now if it's too bent far over that it's going to pull down on the petal, just push it back up and bring it down. There you go. Okay, so this is when you need your paper cup. So as you can see, this is just paper cup, and I've put some holes in the bottom, and all I've done that with is just needle tools. That's it. It's easiest to do. Now we're going to have to get our green clay, and I don't want to lay that down and curl any of the petals over, so I've got it just propped like that. And then I'm going to get my green, and then because it is a small one, I'm going to just take the smallest cutter. Now roses, calyx and the the leaves, sorry, seem to be a darker green, so that's why I've gone for one as dark as this. And the reason that I'm making this thicker, because this is going to support the flower once it's in my cake, when I pop it in, my fake cake. So I've just took away those fluffy edges like we did with the petals. Then we're just going to take our rose, and then we're just going to push it through the centre like this. Now if you haven't got a calyx cutter, you could use a teardrop cutter and just make it a little bit smaller by trimming a little bit off of each one, and then you just lay them round. Now as you can see, I've just pushed that up to the bottom of the rose. I'm just pinching at the end just so it sticks. I'm taking my needle tool again and just pushing these out and curling them over. You don't want them all the same because no flower is symmetrical at all. You know, they're always in different positions, or some's further up, or some might have got tore off in the florist if you've not been very careful when you've picked them up. But that's what I'm going to do. And as you can see, that's a beautiful little red rose. And then all I've done is just put these into here, and then I put them in the oven and I baked them, and I've got quite a few now that I've made, so I'll put this to the side and show you the ones I've already done. So as you can see, I've got a nice little tin of them here. I'll take them out. And a few larger ones. Take out the tin. Okay. So these are the larger ones. Now on these ones, in fact I forgot to do it on this one. I'll bring it back. What you can do is with the petals, you can do like a little pinch on the outside ones, just like this, and it curls them up a little bit. Sorry if that's gone blurred. So let's see if I can do it again on another one. So you just bring it up and then just pinch it from either side. And it sort of puts this little dip in it. So you can see, that's better. So it just puts this little dip on the outside petals. So it gives it a little bit more of a realistic look. Okay, so I'll put that one back. So as you can see, I've done myself quite a few of these little roses because they're going to go around the outside of my forever cake, and these are the little tiny bud ones that I was telling you about. Now these are just done with the silver wire. Now what I'll probably do is go around them with some of this green florist tape. So to do that, you just need to take a little strip of it, just tear it off. Again, you can get this from the range or florists. They might sell you some. No, Wilkinsons, if you're in the UK, they've sold it before when I've needed it. So I'm just going to snip off that little bit at the end. Now by pulling it, you activate the glue that's in the tape, and this is what makes it stick. Now when I was doing the sugar crafting ones, we rolled some tissue paper around the wire first. I'm not wanting to do that with this one. I'm just wanting to just go around with the wire. Now the hardest part is starting it off, because you've got to get it to grip to itself. So you've got to pinch it really hard and just roll it within your fingers. And then all you're going to do is just do it so that it goes all the way down. And then if you just keep the tape at an angle, as you can see it still moves, but we can almost keep pushing it back up. So I like to hold it in my hand and then hold it at an angle. And then just keep rolling. Now I've got a song playing in my head, rolling. So I'll never be a singer. I never could sing when I'm in the car. I've got music on quite loud, and it's nice and sunny and we're out for a drive. I love listening to music while I'm out. You're probably just thinking, shut up, Becca, let's get on with doing a rose. just until you get to the end. So if you're doing them for something like I'm doing, that is totally optional. You don't have to put this on. It's just because that I was taught to do it when I did the sugar craft lessons. That's the reason I do it. And then just snip that off because we don't need it. And then just give it a good squeeze all the way around. Now if you're doing the petals as well, all you'll need to get is some of the rose petal leaves, or you could actually use your teardrop cutters to make your, in fact we'll have a go at doing that now, I'll show you. So now that's been stuck up, that one's ready to use. So I'll show you how to do the quick version of a leaf with the larger one so you can see a little bit better. So again, when you're doing your leaves and petals, leaves and petals, you want it just a little bit thicker than the red. So I'm just making sure I'm going through, I'm just thinking that out to what the other ones are. Now when you're doing the wired ones, when I was at the sugar craft class, we had a special board. It had like a groove in it, and you rolled your clay out over that, and it made a sort of thicker piece right at the bottom of the petal, and that's where we used to push the wire. But this obviously we're not doing, so I'm just going to take this. And just take your needle tool. Again, if you want to just thin out the edges you can. Then this is when a leaf veiner press would come in handy. There we go. And all I'm going to do is just make some leaf veins in it. It's going all the way around. And you just finish them a little bit, get them in the shape that you want, because obviously no leaves are the same, like I've said before. And you've got yourself a leaf there, and then you can stick it to the underside of your rose. So I'll pop it on this one there, so it's on. There you've got a petal on it. So again, if you wanted to make the wired ones, you can do, but you don't have to. That's totally up to you. You just need to make a thicker bit at the bottom and pop some wire into it for you to be able to stick some really thin wire into it, and then you wrap it around the leaf base. I don't want to go back in now. Now if you want your roses to be a nice glossy finish, I'm just using Pledge Revive It. This will just coat my roses and it will give them a shine. I'll take it off. And then you just want to take your paper cup again, and then just want to dip it into the Pledge Revive It, knock off as much as you can. You want it to get down in between the leaves, but you don't want to have too much on there, it'll never dry, but it's got a nice glossy finish and it will dry like that. So I will do that with the rest of my flowers, and that's just how to glaze and coat them. So again, that's another option, you don't have to do this. So I hope that's helped a little bit, show you how to make some roses, and you can make them for anything you want really. You could actually pop them on a ring base, you could put them on a fake cake like what I'm doing, or if you just wanted to make a centrepiece for a table that you're doing, say if you're having a fancy meal and you're having friends come round, you just want that sort of wow factor on your table, then you could use these, and then you know you've got something that you're going to be able to keep forever, because that's the sad thing about flowers, they don't last forever, they're dying. It's a shame really with how beautiful they are. So if you've got any questions, put them in the comments, I'll try to answer them as best I can. And if you've enjoyed the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be appreciated. And if you've not subscribed, if you consider subscribing, that would be appreciated too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.